Hi everybody, morning, afternoon, wherever you're watching this from. I'm going to do my normal where I'm just going to ramble a little bit, introduce myself, and as per usual, please do comment and tell me where you're watching us from. Where did you find us, basically? Not where did you find me personally. Where did you hear about the virtual coffee and chat? So welcome to, I'm going to say it's above 20. I've actually completely forgotten about how many of these we've done, but we've began virtual coffee and chat at the start of lockdown. So that is mid-March we've been doing this for, with a few sessions that we've had to pause. But thank you to everybody who's been watching us right from the beginning. So for those who haven't caught one of our sessions before, we host a weekly virtual coffee and chat on Facebook and YouTube to keep you guys up to date on what the Children's Society are up to, how we're working with young people and children, and just a general chat with some quite interesting guests. That's ranged from not only our chief exec, Mark Russell, but also a group called Team Gold. And they're a group of young people, all under the age of 18, who actually work together to give funding to other groups, young people group, with the primary goal of making the future better for young people up and down the country. Sorry, I literally just keep losing my voice. So sorry about that. That's a bit embarrassing. But if you've been here from the start, which, like I said, is probably about 6 months ago, then thank you so much. And if you've just joined us or have only been here for a few sessions, then welcome to you guys. We've actually only got 3 more shows left until we're going to announce some exciting changes. So just fingers crossed for that. I'm trying to be really excited without telling you what's going to happen. But we're going to change things up a little bit. As there's changes in everybody else's life. People are going back to school. People are maybe going into the office more. But we want to be led by what you guys want. Who do you want to hear from? Who do you want to speak to as well? Because don't forget, you can write wherever you're watching this from, whether it's YouTube or Facebook, you can comment and tell us exactly who you want to hear from, but also ask those important questions that maybe we've not thought of before. So do keep your eyes peeled. I'm Anna, and I'm from the marketing and fundraising team at TCS. So if you have any questions for me, not that I'm very interested in, please do comment. But behind the scenes, I have the wonderful Jasmine, who is in the campaigns team. So she not only works on getting change done, but she also keeps me very, very calm in the background and also helps me all the time with tech issues, anything. So thanks, Jasmine. But like I said, do let us know who you want to hear from and the topics, because most importantly, this is for you to be more engaged with us, and we want to talk about the things that are really important to you, but we can only do that if you let us know. So do carry on commenting on the Facebook group, on the video streams, say hello and introduce yourself and let us know what you want. So I'm sure you're probably aware, but late last night, early this morning, we've heard of new changes that are being implemented across England. It's now illegal for social gatherings of more than 6 people, with some exemptions, all to do with a steep rise in coronavirus cases across the country. Some of us welcome these new changes, some of us are shocked, but what do young people think? How are they feeling about it? Modern life has been chipping away at children's happiness over time, and our Good Childhood Report of 2020 finds this toxic trend is continuing. This is heartbreaking news for many of us, and even shocking for some. But we want to know why this is happening and what can be done to save childhood for so many after COVID. All of our lives are changing, but how can we make it change for the better? So without further ado, I would like to welcome my next guest, who is Charlotte Rayner, who is Policy Officer at the Children's Society. Hi, Charlotte.
Hi, Anna. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. We were actually just saying beforehand that we've never actually spoken to each other before.
No, despite being at Children's Society for quite a long time, both of us, we've never come across each other.
Which is, it's mental. Yeah, for people who don't work with the Children's Society, Children's Society isn't a huge charity, but we've got so many different things going on. It's not normal for us me and you to speak, which is quite unbelievable, because you think we would need to speak to each other.
I know. I can't believe it was only like last week that it was the first time.
Which is why the beauty of things like this, so we can all learn from each other and ultimately make connections, which will benefit young people and their future.
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect. So as we want to get warmed up, I'm going to obviously do the famous game, which everyone talks about. It's trending all the time. It's not. It's really not. The 60-second question game. So are you ready?
I think so. Been trying to practice.
Just got to think really fast. So we have Beth, who is, she got 20. Mark Russell, our chief exec, got 18, I think. But your colleague Richard only got, what was it, 12, I think?
Okay, as long as I beat Richard, that's my target, 12.
That's all you've got to do. Okay, let me get my flashy timer. One day I'm actually going to get a proper thing that comes up on screen, but I've not got there yet. Okay, so without further ado, start now. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Hot weather or cold weather?
Cold weather.
Pepsi or Coke?
Coke.
Favorite junk food?
Pizza.
Laundry or dishes?
Dishes.
Crossword or Sudokus?
Sudokus.
What do you order at fish and chips?
Haddock and chips.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
What animal would you be?
Elephant.
Thick or thin chips?
Thick.
Chinese or Italian?
Italian.
Favorite cereal?
Jordan's.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Rural or urban?
Rural.
Broccoli or cauliflower?
Broccoli.
Calling or texting?
Texting.
Books or movies?
Books.
Last thing you ate?
Toast.
Mayo or ketchup?
Ketchup.
Oh my God, you have just beaten. You got 21, I think. Yay, we have a winner. Well done. I think on your CV.
In my 4 years of being at the Children's Society, I think this is my proudest moment.
Well, you were very, very quick. I mean, just looking back at the questions, yeah, but you knew exactly what you wanted, and there was no question about it. So
I think some answers were surprising to me. I didn't know I preferred rural over urban.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? They do say that if you're struggling with making a decision, someone asks you a load of questions like that and then ask you at the end, and your mind tells you.
Yeah, we do that sometimes if we're deciding what to have for tea or, what takeaway to have. It doesn't always work.
I think I'm going to have to start doing this for my indecisive friends.
Yeah, it's a good method.
Yeah, because, it's quite annoying. But anyway, I need to stop rambling about food all the time. Let's get into the real business of the Good Childhood Report. What is it?
So Good Childhood Report is a report we publish every year, and it's basically a state of the nation report on children's wellbeing in the UK. This year is actually our 9th report, and we've been researching children's subjective wellbeing for the past 15 years. So it is really a big body of work. Each year in a report, we look at trends in well-being, and I'll talk about a few of those later. But we also look at different things that are impacting on well-being. And this year we look at international comparisons in well-being, and we look at children's happiness with their friendships, because it's an area we've actually seen children's happiness decline in recent years. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, that's a brilliant nutshell. And I suppose why the Children's Society do it is because we need to do it so that we know where we can support, and also what is going, like, for us to know what is going on in a child's life right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to know what's happening with children is by asking them, and that's exactly what the Good Childhood is. It's just us asking children how they feel about their lives, what areas they're happy with, what areas they're not happy with, and then we can use that to inform our work, to spread that message to policymakers, decision makers. So it's a really important bit of work, because it is just listening to children.
So that's how you collect the data then? Is it that you go out and talk to young people?
So we use surveys, and we go out and do consultations with children and young people. So we use 2 surveys we have our own household panel survey, which is something that we put those questions together and they go out to children and young people. And this year, the survey was actually in the field between April and June. So we were right in the midst of lockdown when that survey was out. And then we also use another survey called Understanding Society, which is a longitudinal study of different households. I think it's around 40,000 households in the UK. And in that, there's questions on subjective wellbeing. So we take data from that, and that informs our trends data. This year, we also used some international studies, because we looked at international comparisons in wellbeing. And then alongside all of this, every year we do consultations with children and young people. And this year, we spoke to over 150 children and young people. And everything had to be done digitally, because normally we would go into schools and youth groups, but this year we just couldn't. So it was all done online by our fabulous youth engagement team.
Oh, wonderful. I mean, that sounds incredible journey you've had to go on to get this data. And data sounds so reminds me of my science coursework or something, but in essence this data is the voice of the young people, their thoughts, their feelings, and it's really interesting to hear that you've actually compared that with the rest of the world.
It's a big international study that's been done. And the other thing that we have is we have our own measurement of wellbeing, which is called the Good Childhood Index, which we created ourselves, which is basically a multi-item measure that looks at different aspects of children's lives, and they just say how happy they are. So it looks at things like appearance, home, family, friends, health, and that goes into our household panel survey. The Good Childhood Index is actually 10 years old. So yeah.
Not enough outside of the charity, does it?
Pardon?
It's not talked about enough outside of the charity. It's such an obvious thing to record. But you've mentioned well-being quite a few times, and we hear about mental health quite a lot in the news. But what do we actually mean when we talk about well-being?
So we see well-being as something that it's used to refer to things in everyday life, such as being happy, feeling fulfilled, being financially secure. It's really about how we're doing as individuals. And what we do in the Good Childhood Report is we look at subjective well-being. So that's people's own views about how they feel about their lives. So the Good Childhood Report is about children's own views about how they feel their life is going. After all, they know the best, so we should listen.
Yeah, 100%. It's so obvious, but we're still shouting and banging the drum about it, which is just mental. Speaking of that, mental health, how have you included that at all in the Good Childhood Report? Because that's something that we're talking about so much, especially when we get to post-COVID.
Yeah, so I think mental health and well-being, whilst they are linked, they're not the same. So I think I just want to set that out. Mental health is different to well-being. So mental health is more about specific signs and symptoms that cause emotional distress. Well-being is more about how we feel on a day-to-day basis. So children might have low well-being, but will not have a mental health condition, and vice versa. A child could have a mental health condition but have really high well-being. There is a link though, and actually I think it was a Good Childhood Report, I want to say 2016 to 18, one of those years. We looked at the link between well-being and mental health, and we found that those children with low well-being also had, I think it was around 47% also had symptoms for depression or anxiety. So whilst there is a link, they're not the same.
Yeah, that's a really good distinction between the two, because well-being's been talking about quite a lot, well-being in the office, well-being in schools, but also it's important to know that mental health is a kind of almost a separate entity that needs to be looked at as well, especially with young people, because this is such an important stage of their life that's already been disrupted. So obviously their well-being and their mental health might be affected. So it's like that's really interesting to know. I've not made this distinction when I've been listening to the news as much as I should be. So that thank you for that.
And I think I was just going to say, I think it's important to look at those with low well-being as well, because they might have a whole range of like vulnerabilities that need responding to. So I think that it's a really important group to look at. That's why we keep talking about well-being all the time.
No, and it's exactly what you said. Yeah. So can you tell us a bit about the ultimate findings from this year's Good Childhood Report?
Yeah, so I will start with the trends data, which is in every report that we produce. As we found in successive reports, there's been a significant decline in children's happiness with life as a whole, and a decline in children's happiness with their friendships, which we explore a little bit more in more detail in the report. There's also been a significant decline in children's happiness with appearance, and it's actually been the lowest since when the survey began in 2009. So that's something that we need to keep an eye on, because appearance has always been a downward trend, but I think this is the lowest point that we've seen it. Looking at international comparisons, we compared the wellbeing of children in the UK to the wellbeing of children in 24 other European countries. And unfortunately, our findings suggest that children in the UK may be faring less well than children in Europe. The survey looks specifically at 15-year-olds. So compared to 24 other European countries, the UK ranked bottom for the proportion with high levels of high life satisfaction and the proportion of having a positive sense of purpose. So we were bottom for that. And the country that actually ranked the top was Romania.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which we were surprised at. And then we did we shared the findings with young people. When we told them that Romania were top, they were so shocked as well. And we had a bit of a discussion as to why we thought that was, which is really interesting. And then we ranked 9th for the proportion with high happiness and 23rd for low levels of sadness. So that's a bit more positive than the levels of sense of purpose and life satisfaction. So to try and explain this, we looked at 3 different explanations as to why children in the UK have such low levels of life satisfaction. We looked at digital technology, and we found that there was no connection between the number of hours spent online and life satisfaction. There was some evidence of links between changes in child poverty and life satisfaction. And actually the UK during that time had the largest increase in child poverty between 2015 and 2018 across different countries. So children might be aware of these changes and aware of the inequalities, and that might be affecting how they feel about their lives. And then we actually found really strong evidence of a connection between life satisfaction and the fear of failure. So children in the UK had the highest fear of failure and lowest life satisfaction, which we found really interesting.
I think that, especially that point about the fear of failure, I always, when I was growing up, I was constantly told that, the world is my oyster. I have so much things I could achieve. And then it suddenly gets to the point when you have to make decisions that you start thinking, what about if I'm achieving the wrong thing? What about if I don't achieve things? And I think we are forgetting that that pressure is being put on younger people every year, younger and younger, that they kind of, not only do the world's their oyster, but also the world opportunities is also getting more expensive. university is getting harder and harder to get a place, and it's expensive. So there's so many opportunities that actually there's so much pressure on young people.
And I think when we shared the findings with young people as well, that fear of failure thing was the thing that resonated with them most, which is really interesting. Automatically they spoke about school pressure, homework, like having to feel they meet certain expectations, and they had so much to say about it. And I just think that actually proves that maybe like young people are feeling it, and there is a lot of stuff at the moment.
Yeah, and young people have so much more access to the news than, I mean, when I was growing up, it was just the news that you would see at 6 p.m. or newspapers, whereas now people get alerts on their phone every time something changes. So they've got all this extra knowledge, which is incredible, but also takes away from a childhood. You shouldn't be worrying about the rise in poverty. You shouldn't be worrying that we might be going into recession. You should just be making your decisions based on what you want to do.
No, definitely. And I think you're right. The access to information is so much greater now than perhaps when we were growing up.
We've spoken to young people in here before. We spoke to the Essex Participation Group. We spoke to them about how they were feeling. And we asked them the same questions, like, do you think happiness has increased in appearance? And straight away they were saying they love Instagram, they love like Twitter, because they can feel more connected to the world. However, it has made a negative impact on their appearance, because their failure is also on social media. As in, they don't get enough likes, or they don't get enough friends on social media, people that they've never even met before. It's a fear of, oh well, I'm failed to get over 50 likes on a photo, and that changes your appearance, your self-worth as well, which I don't think people who haven't grown up in that Instagram world, they won't notice.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point that when we talk about the fear of failure, it's not just like academic, like GCSEs, A levels. It also is that like meeting the expectations that you feel you have to meet on like Instagram. And I failed to, get, like you say, so many likes. And it's I think it covers so much, the fear of failure.
Yeah. So things have probably gotten even worse since you've taken this data, spoken to young people. Where do we go from here? What do we do with the information that we've got right now, and the knowledge that it's probably gone down even more? What can we do?
So the data we used was taken from 2017 to 18. So it does give us a snapshot of children's wellbeing before coronavirus hit. We've actually done some research looking at the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on children's wellbeing. And again, we found that that's swelled the proportion of children with low wellbeing. So I think now it's just really important that we make wellbeing a priority. There is a lot of rhetoric going on at the moment. We need to concentrate on wellbeing, and the government are doing a lot of focus in schools at the moment on wellbeing as children return. But I think we just need to ingrain it in policy, make sure that wellbeing is the heart of everything. And we actually need to do some like national measurement of children's wellbeing as well, because at the moment, like our study is the most probably comprehensive measurement of children's wellbeing, and we actually provide data to the ONS. So the wellbeing data they use is actually our data for children and young people. So we just think there needs to be more comprehensive measurement of children's wellbeing, so the government at both a national and local level can really understand what's going on in children's lives and really make that difference, and concentrate on areas where they're not so happy with.
So it goes back to if we promote this, we kind of promote the findings, but also promote, okay, well, we need to take more of a look and do a national look at wellbeing in young people. Then we are ultimately listening to young people, and then we can make the difference. So it goes back to, without listening to people who are actually going through the experience, we don't know, we're lost, we're blind almost to how we can help them. So what can a supporter do? What are we trying to ask people who agree, are nodding their heads listening to you, what can they do about it?
We actually have a campaign action which is live at the moment, and we are asking people to email their MP to ask the government to prioritise children's wellbeing. So if you're listening to this and you really want to help us make a difference, then please do the campaign action and email your MP, and let's try and get a wellbeing at right at the top of the government agenda.
Yeah, and we'll definitely share that link continuously, because we can only do so much. Jess Harrison has actually commented saying adults have the ability to do something to improve their well-being, but children have so little agency to change the things that make them unhappy. And that is really, really true, because as an adult we can go, okay, these friends are making me unhappy, or this job's not making me happy, or even my room is not a color that is make me want to get up in the morning, it's really affecting my mood. Whereas a young person can't do that. They only can do what they can do with themselves. And especially if it is the case that they're unhappy at school, what more can they do about that? And I think that is why it's so important that we need to make this more national news level about it. Like, have you had quite a good national scale kind of comments about this? Do you think people are really awakening to this?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think the coronavirus pandemic has actually helped put a spotlight on children's well-being. And I think people are starting to wake up to a little bit. I think we can see in even the government's response and what they're doing as children return to school. It's so well-being focused. And I think they're definitely more willing to listen now. Whereas probably this time last year, we were in a different position and it was a little bit harder to, try and push it. But this year, we found that people have been, the decision makers we've spoken to, definitely been more willing to listen, which is really positive.
Yeah, that's really, really good to hear, actually, because I think we've said it quite a lot during these episodes, is that coronavirus has changed everyone's world. No one has been untouched. And that's nationally as well as internationally. So one, it's so interesting to hear that about childhood across the world, because children are all being affected by it, but differently, depending on their lives, their situations, but most importantly, that we realise their country. But it's also, COVID has brought to light so many issues that some people thought weren't primarily being affected by. Like, everybody's been touched by various stories of people losing their jobs, unfortunately, things like that maybe people would not have noticed in their lifetime before. And I think that is a really good point, that the Good Childhood Report is showing people that this has been an issue for a long time, but actually now is the time to change things, have a reset button almost.
Yeah, I think it's a really good opportunity to reset how we promote, support and respond to wellbeing. And I think the government already understand the value of wellbeing, because they already measure adults' wellbeing. There's been an adult measurement programme since 2011.
Okay.
So wellbeing data is collected on adults. We now just need the same to be replicated for children.
Exactly. And as we constantly say at the Children's Society, children are our future. We need to help them get an ultimate better future for everybody. Well, we could talk for days and days about this.
Keep going.
But thank you so much for your time. If anybody has any questions, then you can write in the group or on wherever you're watching this from, and we can come back to you about it. But thank you so much, Charlotte, for spending your time chatting to me, your lunch break. And it's been really nice chatting about it, because I've been here for now 2 years, so I've seen 2 lots of the Good Childhood Report, but it's now more important, more than ever. And I truly believe that we can get more people behind this and take it to the decision makers.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and for giving me the chance to talk about good childhood, because it's such a big thing for us, and it's such an important piece of work. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, next week we've got 2 more weeks of these, and then we'll be doing a change up. So remember, guys at home, please do share with everybody that you possibly know, but also remember that you can watch this if this, like, a later stage, if this time isn't convenient for you. So thank you from me and Charlotte, and I'll let you get on with the rest of your day.